the garden, the last snows had melted away, a dimly remembered white ghost on the soft earth. Little buds were popping up everywhere, and this particular morning a bright orange sun peeped over the rooftops, spreading inky fingers of shadow behind every shrub, every blade of grass. The little tree was budding too. Planted barely a year ago, it was at ease on its small patch of ground near the compost heap. Every day the kind lady with the torn hat came down with peelings, and as she tipped them out, she often spoke. "How is my little tree today?" she would say. The tree, as if in appreciation, would sometimes shimmer in the breeze, and when the frosts came, she wrapped the young trunk in old sackcloth for protection. The days grew longer, the shadows shorter, and the little tree basked in the first warmth of spring. A few buds started to open, tiny leaves peeking out. One particular morning, the lady came again, and for a long time looked about the garden, as if taking in the beauty of it all. When at last she reached the tree, she said something unexpected. "Goodbye, little tree. Take care and grow strong, and may you be a refuge for all who seek shelter. Now I must go. Soon there will be a new gardener to tend to you." And with that she was gone. And though the day grew warmer, the tree felt cold inside, saddened his friend would come no more. Some weeks passed, and at last spring was truly in the air. Bees buzzed and birds sang. Every leaf, every flower, every animal drawn into the dance of life. One day the garden gate creaked, and in came a man. He wore a tattered hat and old clothes and seemed very busy and determined in his work. As he unloaded a wheelbarrow full of tools, he barely noticed the nature spirits as they played around him. For this man had a mission to fulfill and was concentrating very hard on its completion. Under the sun's glare, the work proceeded in military fashion. Hedgerows were trimmed, apple trees pruned, paving stones straightened, and weeds pulled. In the end, everything looked smart and neat. Not a flower dared droop its head, nor leaf turn coyly in the breeze. And though a pleasant formality remained, the wild beauty was gone, its old heart torn and bleeding with the weeds. Eventually the man reached the end of the garden where the little tree stood. Oh dear, no, we can't have a chestnut tree here," he said, shaking his head. And before the tree knew what was happening, the gardener had plunged his spade deep into the ground. Then with a mighty oomph, ripped it clean out by the roots, hurling it onto the compost heap. Only the nature spirits understood the kind of pain the little tree felt, its roots torn and leaf buds crushed carelessly by the man's hand. For many days the tree lay as if dead, its leaves hidden from the sunlight, life-giving water taken from its roots. There remained only terrible darkness. How long the nightmare lasted could not be said, but finally, one day, there was light, and the tree awoke. Now surrounded by many trees, a huge unfamiliar forest of trees. "Luckily I came back to collect my tools, poor little tree," said the gentle and familiar voice. "Everything will be all right here, and you can grow as big as you want to." The lady, his kind friend, had joy in her voice, but then said, rather earnestly, "Thrive and grow strong again, good tree, for I must go now." And with that she gathered her things, and without looking back, trekked off into the distance. As darkness fell, the little tree began to feel afraid, alone in his vast, strange world. His heart felt broken and torn with anger and bitterness. And it was from within this dark place that the tree vowed never to feel such pain ever again. Years went by, and the tree grew and grew, his broad trunk and huge branches casting vast shadows on the forest floor. In the winter, he would tremble and twist as if attempting to escape his own bark, so that little animals, trying to sleep through the cold in his hollows, were shaken awake. Eventually they got fed up and left. In the spring, he would writhe angrily, leaves and branches fighting the wind, flinging the little birds from their nests. So the birds left also, in search of more peaceful homes. In the summer, the tree sucked greedily with its roots, drawing every drop of water from the ground. Nothing around would grow, neither shrub nor blade of grass. A barren grey circle, bereft of life, spread outwards, isolating the tree yet more from the world of the forest. Then, in the autumn, when other plants were bearing fruit, the tree, as if in spite, simply dropped its leaves dismissively. There was never a chestnut offered to the squirrels or for the children to gather. Finally, nobody ever came by, and the tree grew lonelier and lonelier. Many such years passed, until the tree became old and feeble. But then, one spring morning, he felt someone standing near his roots. Gazing down in surprise, he recognised his long-lost friend, the lady in her torn hat. "How is my little tree today?" she said. As she spoke, his branches started to quiver and shake, hurling fragments of dead wood to the ground. And then it seemed the tree could speak, and as he did, the voice that came was filled with tears of sorrow. "You let me grow in your garden, but then abandoned me to that cruel man and then this forest." While he was speaking, something strange happened. The old lady started to climb up his trunk. She was quite agile, and as she climbed, she grew younger and younger, and by the time she settled on an uppermost branch, she was a small girl with golden hair. Resting her head on the bough, she hugged the tree very close. "Dear tree, each year I have beckoned you home. Did you not see? Did you not hear? For I am love, and I am life. Today I bring you life. In truth, you never left the garden, for all creation is your garden." And with those words, she hugged the tree closer still, so close she seemed to vanish as her love pierced his heart. In that moment, he let go of his pain and became the tree he was meant to be all along. That year, the birds rested in his branches, and the earth around him became lush with grass and the young shoots of new trees. Autumn brought a bumper crop of chestnuts, so that squirrels from miles around grew fat. The tree radiated a joy felt throughout the forest, and in turn felt the warmth of life returned. And that winter, many little creatures sheltered and slept in his hollows, secure and at peace in the wisdom of his years. Perhaps, in that one year, the tree gave to life all the love that many take a lifetime to give. For in the spring, there were no new buds on his branches, and neither did they carry leaves that summer. Instead, a still, silent presence came to that part of the forest. as slowly the moss and ivy grew up and around his branches. Seasons passed, and the old decaying wood became a place of solitude for walkers, who would occasionally stop to rest on a fallen branch, maybe trace a finger in the old bark, and experience an unexpected feeling of contentment. It was even said that on some spring mornings, a mysterious lady with a torn hat could be seen resting on the old trunk, saying, "How is my little tree today?"